In 2008, while banks collapsed, stock portfolios evaporated, and 8.7 million Americans lost their jobs, a guy named Marcus Lemonis was buying struggling businesses at a discount and turning them around for profit. He later said something I wrote down and taped to my monitor. He said the best time to build a business is when everyone else is running from one. Most business videos show you what to start when the economy is good. This is not that video. This video is about the 20 businesses that do not care whether the economy is good or bad. Businesses that kept printing cash through the 2008 financial crisis, the 2020 pandemic shutdown, and every recession in between. Some of them actually make more money when things get worse. Here is how this breaks down. 5 essential service businesses that thrive because people cannot stop needing them no matter what the economy does. 5 repair and maintenance businesses that explode during downturns because people stop buying new and start fixing old. 5 discount and value businesses that grow specifically because consumers tighten their wallets. And 5 infrastructure businesses so boring, so invisible, so deeply embedded in daily life that most people do not even realize they exist until I show you the numbers. Number 20 is the one that will challenge everything you think you know about recession-proof income. A business built entirely on death. It generated $23 billion in revenue in the United States last year, every single year, without fail. Stick to the end. Before I get into the list, let me frame why this matters more right now than it has in years. The National Bureau of Economic Research defines a recession as a significant decline in economic activity spread across the economy, lasting more than a few months. Since 1945, the United States has experienced 12 recessions. The average recession lasts about 10 months. Some are worse. The Great Recession lasted 18 months. The COVID recession was technically only 2 months, but the economic damage lingered for years. Here's the stat that stops people cold. During the average recession, 1.8 million small businesses closed permanently. That is not a typo. 1.8 million. But here's the part nobody talks about. Some businesses do not just survive recessions. They accelerate. Warren Buffett said it best. Only when the tide goes out do you discover who has been swimming naked. The businesses on this list are the ones wearing full suits. They are the ones still standing, still collecting, still compounding while everything else contracts. And the pattern across all 20 of them is so consistent, it almost feels like a cheat code once you see it. Thomas Stanley studied this for decades. In The Millionaire Next Door, he found that the majority of self-made millionaires built their wealth in what he called dull, normal businesses. Not tech startups, not luxury brands. Businesses that serve needs so fundamental that no economic cycle can eliminate them. That is the entire thesis of this video. Recession-proof does not mean exciting. It means essential. Here are 20 businesses that keep making money in a recession, ranked from most accessible to highest ceiling. And by the end, you will understand why the most uncomfortable business on this list might be the smartest thing you could ever build. Part 1. Essential services. The businesses people cannot stop paying for. Number 1. Residential cleaning services. I know, cleaning houses. That is where we are starting. And that is exactly the point. When the economy contracts, the first thing most people expect is that cleaning services get cut, luxury expense, discretionary spending, gone. That is what the textbooks say. Here is what actually happened. During the 2020 recession, the U.S. cleaning services industry initially dipped, but then surged to a valuation of over $415 billion globally by 2024. The demand did not disappear, it shifted. Corporate offices reduced cleaning budgets. But residential demand, especially deep cleaning, disinfection services, and move-out cleaning, spiked. Why? Because people were home. More mess, more anxiety, more willingness to pay someone to handle the one thing they could control. Meet Angela Brown. Angela started cleaning houses in the 1990s with a bucket, a mop, and a Honda Civic. During the 2008 recession, she did not lose clients. She gained them. Why? Because the commercial cleaning companies that laid off staff pushed those workers into residential markets, flooding the supply. Angela survived because she had built recurring weekly contracts, not one-off gig work. By 2012, she had transitioned into training other cleaners. Today, she runs Ask a House Cleaner, one of the most recognized brands in the residential cleaning education space. Her YouTube channel alone has over 100 million views. She built that during and because of a recession. Here is the math. The startup floor is a bucket, cleaning supplies, and transportation. Total, under $500. A solo residential cleaner servicing 5 homes a week at $150 per visit brings in $3,000 a month. Scale to a small crew of 3, and that number climbs to $8,000 to $12,000 monthly. The trick is weekly recurring contracts, not one-off deep cleans. One client paying $150 per week equals $7,800 a year from a single household. Sign 10 households and you are at $78,000 annually from a business you can start this weekend. Recessions do not eliminate dirt. People do not stop making messes because the stock market drops. Glamorous? Not even slightly. Recession-proof? Absolutely. Number 2, auto repair shops. When the economy shrinks, people stop buying new cars. That is not speculation. That is data. During the 2008 recession, new car sales in the United States dropped 35% in a single year. But here's what happened simultaneously. The average age of vehicles on the road increased from 9.4 years to 11.1 years. By 2024, that number hit 12.6 years, the oldest in recorded history. Older cars break down more. They need more oil changes, more brake jobs, more transmission work. And every single one of those repairs goes to an auto mechanic. The U.S. auto repair and maintenance industry is valued at approximately $300 billion, and it grew during the last 3 recessions. Not in spite of them, because of them. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that automotive service technicians and mechanics earned a median salary of $48,780 in 2024. But shop owners, the people who run the business, rather than turn the wrenches, earn significantly more. A well-run independent auto repair shop with 3 bays and 2 technicians can generate $500,000 to $1 million in annual revenue, with profit margins of 20% to 28%. The startup cost for a small shop runs $50,000 to $150,000 depending on equipment and lease terms. But here is the recession-proof trick. Maintenance is not optional. Oil changes are not optional. Brake pads wearing down to metal is not optional. State inspections are not optional. And the worse the economy gets, the more people keep their old cars running, and the more they need you. Number 3, healthcare services. I almost did not include this because it seems obvious, but the numbers are so staggering they demand attention. The U.S. healthcare industry generates over $4.5 trillion in annual spending. That is not revenue for one company, that is the entire sector, and it grows every single year regardless of economic conditions. During the 2008 financial crisis, while almost every industry contracted, healthcare employment actually increased by 428,000 jobs. The reason is biological. People do not stop getting sick because the Dow Jones drops 40%. They do not stop having babies. They do not stop needing insulin, blood pressure medication, or cancer treatment. But this is not about becoming a doctor. The recession-proof opportunity in healthcare is in the support services, home health aides, medical billing companies, physical therapy practices, dental hygiene, urgent care clinics. A solo medical billing business can generate $40,000 to $80,000 annually with nothing but a laptop, a certification course, and a phone. A small urgent care clinic brings in $1.5 to $3 million in annual revenue. Home health aid agencies, which provide non-medical assistance to elderly patients, generate average revenues of $500,000 to $2 million, with margins of 15% to 25%. The ugly truth about healthcare is that aging does not pause for recessions. The U.S. has 58 million people over the age of 65. By 2030, that number hits 73 million. Every one of them needs care, every month, every recession, without exception. Number 4, grocery and discount food retail. Here's a stat that makes the case immediately. During the 2008 recession, Walmart's revenue increased by 7.2%. While luxury retailers hemorrhaged sales, Walmart added $17 billion in revenue in a single year. The reason is simple. People do not stop eating, they stop eating out. Restaurant spending drops, grocery spending rises. Every single recession follows the same pattern. The U.S. grocery industry generates over $800 billion annually. During downturns, it accelerates because consumers shift from restaurants back to home cooking. Aldi, the German discount grocery chain, expanded from 1,600 to over 2,400 U.S. stores between 2017 and 2025, aggressively building during the same period that saw massive retail closures. Their entire model is built for recessions. Smaller stores, fewer products, lower prices, no frills. And their profit margins are reportedly higher than traditional supermarkets because of the efficiency. Now, you do not need to open a grocery store. But the recession-proof play in food retail is the discount angle. Dollar stores, ethnic grocery markets, bulk food outlets, and discount bakery shops all thrive when wallets tighten. Dollar General opened 1,000 new stores in a single year during the economic uncertainty of 2022 and 2023. 1,000 stores, while other retailers were closing locations. The startup floor for a small specialty food shop runs $25,000 to $100,000. The trick is positioning for value, not luxury. During a recession, the consumer does not stop spending. They start spending differently. And the business positioned to catch that shift prints cash. Number 5, funeral services. This is the one I teased in the hook. And I need you to sit with this for a moment because the numbers are genuinely staggering. The U.S. funeral services industry generates approximately $23 billion in annual revenue. The death rate in the United States is approximately 2.8 million per year. That number does not fluctuate with GDP. It does not respond to interest rate hikes. It does not care about consumer confidence indices. People die in booms. People die in recessions. And every single one of them requires a service. The median cost of a funeral with burial in the United States is approximately $7,148, according to the National Funeral Directors Association. With cremation, the median drops to around $6,171. Both numbers have been rising steadily. Here is the uncomfortable math. 2.8 million deaths per year, times an average service cost of $7,500 equals $21 billion in unavoidable annual spending. And the industry is consolidating. Service Corporation International, the largest funeral services company in the world, operates over 1,900 funeral homes and 500 cemeteries. Their 2024 revenue is approximately $4.1 billion, with operating margins around 25%. The startup floor for an independent funeral home is significant, $200,000 to $500,000, depending on the facility and state licensing requirements. But smaller plays exist. Pre-need funeral planning services, cremation-only facilities, which can be started for $80,000 to $150,000. Memorial merchandise companies, pet cremation services, which have lower barriers and are growing at 9% annually. The ugly truth about this business is obvious, but here's the filter. How many businesses can you name that have 100% guaranteed, legally mandated, emotionally non-negotiable demand every single day of every single year, regardless of economic conditions? Almost none. That is why funeral services is number 5. But here's where Marcus's notebook almost fell apart. See, after 4 months of researching recession-proof businesses, Marcus hit a wall that will sound familiar to anyone who has ever tried to start something. He had 41 browser tabs open, 3 half-finished spreadsheets, a notes app full of screenshots from Reddit threads. Every business on his list looked perfect in theory. Auto repair had great margins. Cleaning services had low startup costs. Healthcare had guaranteed demand. But every time he got close to committing, he would find another business that looked slightly better, slightly safer, slightly more profitable. He was optimizing himself into paralysis. Michael Gerber described this exact trap in the E-Myth Revisited. He said the fatal assumption is that if you understand the technical work of a business, you understand a business that does that technical work. But Marcus's version of the trap was different. His fatal assumption was that if he researched long enough, the perfect recession-proof business would reveal itself like a prophecy. It never did, because no business is perfect. Not in a recession, not in a boom, not ever. The best recession-proof business is not the one with the highest margins on a spreadsheet. It is the one you can actually start with the money and skills you have right now. Write that down. Marcus had $6,700 saved from 18 months of working as a warehouse supervisor. He knew cars. He had changed his own brakes since he was 17, so he stopped researching and started a mobile mechanic service out of his apartment's parking lot with a used toolbox he bought for $1,800 on Facebook Marketplace. Not because mobile mechanic work was the optimal choice, because it was the possible choice, the one he could afford, this week, with the skills he already had. And here's what happened. In month 1, he made $2,100. Not retirement money, but it was $2,100 that came in regardless of what the Federal Reserve did with interest rates. That is the real definition of recession-proof. Part 2, repair and maintenance. The businesses that explode when people stop buying new. Number 6, appliance repair. When the economy is strong, a broken dishwasher gets replaced with a new one. When the economy contracts, that same dishwasher gets repaired. This dynamic is so reliable that appliance repair revenue historically increases 8% to 15% during recessionary periods. The U.S. appliance repair services market is valued at approximately $6.5 billion. A solo appliance repair technician with a van and diagnostic equipment can earn $60,000 to $120,000 annually. A 2-technician operation scales to $200,000 to $350,000 in revenue. The startup floor is a van, a basic set of tools, and manufacturer-specific training. Total $8,000 to $25,000. The trick is warranty and home warranty contracts. Companies like American Home Shield and Choice Home Warranty pay technicians $75 to $150 per service call. That is recurring dispatched work that comes to you. You do not need to advertise. You just need to be on the warranty company's vendor list. The recession-proof filter here is simple. Every home in America has an average of 12 major appliances. Every one of those appliances will break eventually. And during a recession, the owner's first instinct shifts from replace to repair. That shift is your entire business model. Number 7, HVAC services, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. This is the blue-collar business that quietly mints millionaires. The U.S. HVAC services market is valued at approximately $30 billion. And here's the recession-proof dynamic. People cannot survive summer in Phoenix without air conditioning. They cannot survive winter in Chicago without heating. HVAC is not a luxury. It is a survival necessity in most of the United States. During the 2008 recession, new HVAC system installations dropped. But maintenance and repair revenue increased by 12%. The pattern is identical to auto repair. When people stop buying new, they pay to fix old. A solo HVAC technician earns $55,000 to $85,000 annually. An HVAC company with 3 trucks and 5 technicians generates $800,000 to $2 million in annual revenue, with owner income of $150,000 to $350,000. The startup cost for an HVAC business runs $15,000 to $50,000 for a van, tools, EPA certification, and licensing. The trick is preventive maintenance contracts. A homeowner pays $150 to $300 per year for biannual tune-ups. 100 contracts equals $15,000 to $30,000 annually in guaranteed revenue before a single repair call comes in. Stack 500 contracts, and the maintenance revenue alone hits 6 figures. The systems just need servicing, every spring and every fall. Recession or no recession. Number 8, plumbing. A toilet does not know the GDP just dropped 4%. Pipes do not check the unemployment rate before they burst. And when a sewer line backs up into someone's basement at 2 a.m., that homeowner does not comparison shop. They call the first plumber who answers. The U.S. plumbing services market generates approximately $130 billion in annual revenue. Emergency plumbing calls command $200 to $500 per visit, often with a premium for after-hours work. During the 2020 recession, plumbing revenue actually increased because more people were home, using their plumbing systems more, and discovering problems they had been ignoring. A solo plumber earns $60,000 to $100,000 annually. A plumbing company with a small crew generates $500,000 to $1.5 million in revenue. The startup cost is licensing a van and tools. Total, $10,000 to $40,000, depending on the state. The recession-proof trick is the same as every repair business on this list. The demand is not generated by consumer confidence. It is generated by physics. Gravity pulls water downhill. Pressure builds in pipes. Seals degrade over time. These forces do not pause for economic cycles. They operate on their own schedule, and that schedule pays you every month. Number 9, roofing and exterior repair. When a roof leaks, it does not wait for the economy to recover. Water damage compounds daily. Mold sets in within 48 hours. Insurance companies mandate repairs within strict timelines. And homeowners who might delay a kitchen renovation for 3 years will not delay a roof repair for 3 weeks, because the damage gets exponentially more expensive with every rain. The U.S. roofing market is valued at approximately $28 billion. During the 2008 recession, new construction roofing declined, but re-roofing and repair work held steady because buildings do not stop aging. Insurance restoration work, roofing jobs funded by homeowner insurance claims after storms, actually increased during the downturn because insurance companies still paid claims regardless of the economy. A roofing crew can generate $500,000 to $2 million in annual revenue. The owner of a mid-size roofing company typically earns $100,000 to $300,000. The startup cost runs $15,000 to $50,000 for equipment, insurance, and licensing. The trick is storm restoration. When a hailstorm hits a zip code, every homeowner in the area files an insurance claim. One storm equals hundreds of guaranteed jobs in a concentrated geographic area. You do not need to market. You need to show up with a ladder and a business card. Number 10, smartphone and electronics repair. This is the modern version of the appliance repair play, scaled for a generation that cannot survive 30 minutes without a phone. The global smartphone repair market is valued at approximately $45 billion and growing at 4.5% annually. During recessions, the pattern is identical to every other repair business. People stop buying the new iPhone. They fix the cracked screen on the one they already own. A single repair kiosk in a mall or shopping center can generate $10,000 to $30,000 in monthly revenue. A mobile repair service operating from a van generates $5,000 to $15,000 monthly with virtually zero overhead. The startup floor is shockingly low. An iFixit ProTech toolkit costs $75 on their website. A basic parts inventory for iPhone and Samsung screens runs $500 to $1,500. Total startup under $2,000. The trick is not individual consumers. The trick is business-to-business contracts. Property management companies, school districts, small businesses with fleets of employee devices. One contract with a property management company that manages 200 units can generate steady monthly repair volume that eliminates the need for walk-in traffic entirely. And here is the recession-proof filter. During the 2020 downturn, global smartphone shipments dropped 12.5%, but smartphone repair revenue increased because people kept their phones longer, and longer kept phones break more often. The worse the economy, the more screens crack on aging devices that people refuse to replace. And here is what happened to Marcus in month 4. Something unexpected. He had been running his mobile mechanic service for 16 weeks. Revenue was $2,400 a month. Steady, not spectacular, but reliable. Then 3 things happened in the same week. His biggest client, a small landscaping company with 6 trucks, told him they were cutting their fleet maintenance budget by 40%. A competitor undercut his oil change price by $15, and his diagnostic scanner died. Total repair cost, $800. Marcus sat in his apartment that night staring at a spreadsheet that had gone from green to red in 7 days. And he almost quit. He started browsing job listings. He reopened the browser tabs he had closed 4 months earlier. He thought about going back to the warehouse. But then he remembered something Peter Drucker wrote in Managing in Turbulent Times. Drucker said the greatest danger in times of turbulence is not the turbulence. It is to act with yesterday's logic. Marcus realized that losing one client and absorbing one equipment failure was not a sign that the business was broken. It was a sign that the business was real. Real businesses have bad months. Real businesses lose clients. Real businesses require reinvestment. The fake businesses are the ones that only exist in spreadsheets and never encounter friction because they were never actually started. So Marcus did not quit. He replaced the scanner with a refurbished unit for $400. He raised his prices by 10% to cover equipment reserves. And he signed 2 new accounts within 10 days, a small plumbing company with 4 vans and an electrician with 2 trucks. By month 6, his revenue was $3,200. Worst month? A blip. Not a death sentence. That is the difference between researching recession-proof businesses and actually running one. Part 3. Discount and value businesses. The ones that grow because wallets tighten. Number 11. Thrift stores and consignment shops. Here is a stat that should reframe how you think about secondhand retail. The global secondhand market is projected to reach $350 billion by 2028, and it grows fastest during recessions. During the 2008 downturn, Goodwill Industries reported a 10% increase in revenue. Not a 10% decrease, an increase. While luxury retailers collapsed, thrift stores expanded. The reason is human psychology. When disposable income drops, people do not stop wanting things. They start wanting things cheaper. The consumer does not disappear during a recession. The consumer migrates to a lower price point, and whoever is standing at that lower price point catches all of them. A small consignment shop can generate $100,000 to $500,000 in annual revenue with margins of 30% to 50%. The startup cost runs $10,000 to $50,000 for lease, inventory acquisition, and basic fixtures. The trick is curation. The thrift stores that fail during recessions are the ones that look like garage sales. The ones that thrive are the ones that curate inventory, create a shopping experience, and position themselves as smart shopping rather than desperate shopping. Recession-proof spending is not about people buying less, it is about people buying differently. Number 12, dollar stores and discount retail. I already mentioned Dollar General opening 1,000 stores in a single year, but the full picture is even more compelling. The US dollar store segment generates over $70 billion in annual revenue. Dollar General, Dollar Tree, and Five Below are the 3 largest operators, and all 3 expanded aggressively during the 2008 recession. Dollar Tree's stock price increased 60% during the financial crisis, while the S&P 500 dropped 38%. That is not a typo. While the market lost more than a third of its value, Dollar Tree gained 60%. Why? Because their core customer is not the middle class when times are good. Their core customer is everyone when times are bad. The trade-down effect is one of the most reliable economic patterns in existence. When incomes shrink, consumers trade down from brand name to generic, from department stores to discount stores, from Whole Foods to Aldi, and every single one of those trade downs puts money in the pocket of the discount retailer. The startup floor for a small discount retail operation is $15,000 to $75,000. The trick is sourcing. Liquidation pallets from major retailers, closeout deals, overstock inventory. You can buy branded merchandise at 70% to 90% off wholesale and sell it at a 40% margin. The worse the economy gets, the more liquidation inventory becomes available, and the cheaper your cost of goods drops. A recession literally makes your supply cheaper and your demand higher at the same time. That is the definition of a recession-proof business model. Number 13, debt collection and credit repair. This is the business that makes people uncomfortable. And that discomfort is exactly why it prints cash during every single recession. When the economy contracts, defaults rise, credit card delinquencies increase, medical debt piles up, auto loan defaults spike, and every one of those delinquent accounts needs to be collected. The U.S. debt collection industry generates approximately $20 billion in annual revenue. During the 2008 recession, industry revenue increased by over 12%, not despite the recession, because of it. Now, debt collection is not for everyone. It requires licensing, compliance with the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, and a tolerance for difficult conversations. But the startup floor is lower than most people think. A small credit repair consultancy can be launched for under $5,000. A debt buying operation, where you purchase charged-off debts at 2 to 5 cents on the dollar and collect the full amount, can be started with $10,000 to $50,000 in capital. The trick is the counter-cyclical nature. This business does not fight the recession. It feeds on the recession. The worse the economy gets, the more debt defaults occur, the more inventory becomes available, and the more clients need your services. It is one of the only businesses on this list that has a directly inverse relationship with economic health. Number 14, pawn shops and buy-sell trade stores. When people need cash fast during a recession, they do not apply for bank loans that require 6 weeks of paperwork and a credit score above 700. They walk into a pawn shop with a guitar, a gold chain, or a power tool, and they walk out with cash in 15 minutes. The U.S. pawn shop industry generates approximately $15 billion in annual revenue. During the 2008 recession, pawn shop revenue increased by approximately 20%. The model is almost embarrassingly simple. You buy items below market value. You either loan against them and collect interest, or you resell them at a markup. The typical pawn shop margin on resale items is 30% to 50%. Loan interest rates range from 5% to 25% per month, depending on the state. A small pawn shop generates $200,000 to $800,000 in annual revenue. The startup cost runs $50,000 to $150,000 for inventory, security systems, licensing, and lease. The trick is specialization. General pawn shops compete on everything, but a pawn shop that specializes in a category, electronics, musical instruments, tools, luxury watches, builds expertise that commands higher margins and attracts a more targeted customer base. Number 15, tax preparation services. This is the recession-proof business hiding in plain sight. People file taxes in good years. People file taxes in bad years. The IRS does not care about GDP. The United States processes approximately 150 million individual tax returns every year. Every single year, the tax preparation industry generates approximately $15 billion in annual revenue. During recessions, demand actually increases because more people qualify for refundable credits, more people need help navigating unemployment income, and more people are desperate to maximize their refund. H&R Block reported increased revenue during the 2008 recession. TurboTax's parent company, Intuit, grew revenue every single year through the downturn. A solo tax preparer can earn $30,000 to $60,000 during a single tax season working January through April. A small tax preparation office with 3 preparers generates $200,000 to $500,000 in seasonal revenue. The startup cost is an IRS preparer tax identification number, which is free, plus tax software that runs $500 to $2,000, plus marketing and a small office lease. Total, $5,000 to $20,000. The trick is refund anticipation. During recessions, a large segment of the population depends on their tax refund as their biggest annual payday. They will pay $200 to $400 in preparation fees to get a $3,000 to $8,000 refund because, to them, it is not a cost. It is access to money they desperately need. Part 4, Infrastructure and Essentials, the Invisible Businesses. Number 16, Waste Management and Trash Hauling. Garbage does not pause for recessions. The U.S. waste management industry generates approximately $120 billion in annual revenue. It grew through the 2001 recession, the 2008 recession, and the 2020 recession. Waste Management Inc., the largest operator, reported revenue growth in every recessionary year of the last 3 decades. A small-scale junk removal or trash hauling operation can be started with a truck and a dump fee account. Total startup, $5,000 to $20,000. A solo operator generates $50,000 to $150,000 annually. A 2-truck operation scales to $250,000 to $500,000. The trick is commercial contracts. A restaurant that pays you $200 a month for a weekly grease trap and waste pickup renews every month because the health department mandates it. A construction company that pays you $400 per dumpster swap needs you on every job site for the duration of the project. Commercial waste contracts are legally mandated recurring revenue. And legally mandated recurring revenue is the most recession-proof income stream on Earth. Number 17, pest control. Cockroaches do not check the stock market before they breed. Termites do not pause their consumption of wooden structures because interest rates are rising. And bedbugs do not care whether unemployment is at 3% or 10%. The U.S. pest control industry generates approximately $25 billion in annual revenue. It has grown every single year for the past 2 decades, including through every recession. Rollins, Inc., the parent company of Orkin, has increased revenue for over 20 consecutive years. During the 2008 recession, Rollins reported revenue growth of 5%. Why? Because pest control is not discretionary. It is compliance. Health codes mandate it for restaurants. Lease agreements mandate it for apartments. Common sense mandates it for any homeowner who discovers termites eating their foundation. A solo pest control operator earns $50,000 to $120,000 annually. A company with 3 routes and 2 technicians generates $400,000 to $1 million in revenue. The startup cost is a vehicle, a sprayer, licensing, and chemical inventory. Total, $10,000 to $30,000. The recession-proof trick is quarterly contracts. 80% of pest control revenue comes from recurring quarterly service agreements. 1 signature equals 4 visits per year. 100 contracts at $100 per visit equals $40,000 in guaranteed annual revenue from customers who legally or biologically cannot cancel. Number 18, laundromats. The laundromat industry is the cockroach of the business world. It survives everything. The U.S. coin laundry industry generates approximately $6.8 billion in annual revenue. The industry survival rate is approximately 95% over 5 years. Compare that to restaurants at 20%. During every recession in the last 50 years, the laundromat revenue has either held steady or increased. Why? Because people do not stop wearing clothes during recessions. They do not stop sweating, spilling coffee, or getting mud on their jeans. And during downturns, the demand actually shifts in the laundromat's favor because more people lose homes, downsize to apartments without in-unit laundry, or delay purchasing their own washer and dryer. A laundromat generates average annual revenue of $150,000 per location. Net profit margins range from 20% to 35%. The startup cost for purchasing an existing laundromat runs $200,000 to $500,000, but the owner involvement is minimal. Modern laundromats run on card payment systems, remote monitoring apps, and automated alerts. 4 to 15 hours a week of actual owner involvement. Some operators manage multiple locations from their phone. The trick is co-locating revenue streams. The laundromat itself generates income from washers and dryers, but vending machines, ATMs, arcade games, and fold and wash premium services can add 20% to 40% in additional revenue from the same physical space. 1 roof, multiple income streams, all recession-proof. Number 19, self-storage. If you thought laundromats were resilient, self-storage makes them look fragile. The U.S. self-storage industry is valued at over $45 billion. There are more than 50,000 self-storage facilities in the United States. Nearly 1 in 8 American households rents a storage unit, and the industry grew through every single recession in modern history. During the 2008 financial crisis, occupancy rates at self-storage facilities remained above 85% nationally. Revenue dipped slightly in 2009, but recovered within 12 months and continued climbing. By 2024, the industry was generating 40% more revenue than it did pre-recession. The recession-proof dynamic is counterintuitive. During downturns, people downsize homes. They move in with family. They relocate for cheaper cost of living. Every one of those transitions creates storage demand because people refuse to let go of their belongings. They will pay $100 to $200 a month to store furniture, clothes, and memories rather than sell them or throw them away. That is psychological demand. And psychological demand does not respond to economic cycles. The average self-storage tenant keeps their unit for over 14 months. That is 14 months of automatic recurring revenue from one customer who signed up once. And here is the part that makes it truly recession-proof. Late fees. During recessions, people are more likely to be late on payments. Self-storage facilities charge late fees that can add 10% to 20% to the monthly bill. And if a tenant abandons a unit, the facility auctions off the contents and keeps the proceeds. The business literally monetizes economic distress. Number 20, utilities and essential infrastructure maintenance. I saved this for last because it is the most invisible business on the entire list and potentially the most recession-proof thing that exists. Someone has to maintain the power lines. Someone has to repair the water mains. Someone has to inspect the gas pipes. Someone has to service the cell towers. And that someone gets paid regardless of what the economy does. Utility infrastructure maintenance is a $200 billion annual industry in the United States. It does not contract during recessions because the infrastructure does not stop degrading. Pipes corrode, transformers fail, fiber optic cables get cut, cell towers need upgrades, and regulatory bodies mandate maintenance schedules that cannot be delayed or deferred regardless of economic conditions. A small utility contractor specializing in one niche, gas line inspection, water main repair, electrical substation maintenance, can generate $500,000 to $5 million in annual revenue. The startup cost varies wildly based on specialization, from $25,000 for basic trenching and pipe work to $500,000 for heavy equipment and certification. The trick is government contracts. Municipal and utility company contracts are typically 3 to 5 years in duration. They auto-renew, they pay on schedule, and they are funded by ratepayer revenue, not consumer spending. When the economy contracts and consumer spending drops, utility revenue stays flat because people continue paying their electric bill, their water bill, and their gas bill. It is literally the last bill people stop paying. That makes the businesses that service those utilities the last businesses to feel any economic impact. Here's the pattern I want you to see across all 20 of these. Every one of them sells something essential: cleaning, repair, food, burial, waste removal, pest control, laundry, storage, utilities. None of them are exciting. None of them get venture capital. None of them go viral on social media. And every single one of them generates more reliable income during a recession than the businesses most people dream about starting. 3 filters I now run every potential recession-proof business through before I commit. Filter 1. Is the demand driven by biology, physics, or law? People get sick. That is biology. Pipes burst. That is physics. Taxes must be filed. That is law. When the demand is driven by forces that operate independently of economic sentiment, you have a recession-proof business. If the demand requires consumers to feel confident, feel wealthy, or feel optimistic to buy, you have a recession-vulnerable business. The distinction is that simple. Filter 2. Does demand stay flat or increase during downturns? Some businesses survive recessions. The 20 businesses on this list actively benefit from them. Auto repair grows because people stop buying new cars. Discount retail grows because people trade down. Debt collection grows because defaults rise. Thrift stores grow because people want cheaper options. If your business has a mechanism that makes it grow when the economy shrinks, you are not recession-proof. You are recession-powered. Filter 3. Can I build recurring revenue that does not require reselling every month? Cleaning contracts, pest control routes, storage units, HVAC maintenance plans, tax preparation clients who return every April. The recession-proof businesses that generate the most reliable income are the ones where the customer pays you every month without you needing to convince them again. 1 signature, 12 payments. That is the structure. Stack 50 of those signatures in 1 zip code and you have a business that does not care what the Federal Reserve does. Thomas Stanley spent 20 years studying millionaires. He found that the majority of them built wealth not through brilliant ideas, but through boring, essential, recession-resistant businesses that compounded cash flow month after month, year after year, cycle after cycle. They did not time the market. They did not predict recessions. They built businesses that did not need the market to be good because the demand was never optional in the first place. Marcus's quiet win? 11 months in, he had $4,800 in monthly revenue from his mobile mechanic service. He had added a small appliance repair site operation after a customer asked if he could fix a dryer. He could. That one question opened a second revenue stream that now brought in $400 a month from warranty company dispatches. Total monthly income from his recession-proof businesses, $6,200. His warehouse supervisor job had paid $3,400 a month. His ugly, boring, recession-proof businesses now paid almost double. And the economy had not even entered a recession yet. Marcus realized something that most business owners never understand. You do not need a recession to benefit from a recession-proof business. A recession-proof business is profitable in good times and great in bad times. The protection is not the only advantage. The protection is just the floor. Now your turn. Below this video are 20 numbers, 1 through 20. Drop the number of the recession-proof business you would actually start in the comments. Whichever business gets the most replies, I'm doing a full deep dive on it next week, showing you exactly how to find your first client, what the real startup costs look like from an actual operator, and the real first month numbers. So, which one is it? Number 1 through number 20. Drop it below, and I will see you in the comments.